Welcome to Convicted Patriot. Today is December 18th, 2025. This is your source of unapologetic, common sense, conservative values. And as you can hear in my voice, it's been a rough week. And I guess really, let me just start today by telling you that it's been a terrible week for me, apparently for a lot of people, as I've been told. But I made a decision this week, and I've let some people down that count on me. It's one of those things that makes your soul feel a little heavier. And no, I didn't cheat on my wife or anything like that. But regardless, I, for the first time in a long time, put myself before my family. And my wife is a woman of grace and mercy. And without her, I probably wouldn't be half the man. I definitely wouldn't be half the man I am today, nor would I probably be breathing at all. And this woman has brought me back for some dark times, and unbeknownst to her, she's been doing this since the first day we ever spent time together. And I knew from that first night that she was going to be a problem in my underground lifestyle. And she was yet to make a man out of me, honestly. And I knew it then like I know it now. You see, we're all human, and therefore we all fuck up. And what comes next is the real test. Will you stand back up, or will you stay on your ass? And my mother recently said something of this sort to me. And the real winners in life are those that lose and learn to keep going until they win, no matter what, So that's what I intend to do. And during the past few days, and as a result of the way a few things turned out, I had a close family member tell me to basically just stop with all of this, because I wasn't someone that he recognized on the camera, that pretty much he called me a fraud. And although I'm not quite sure how a personal mistake that has nothing to do with journalism or politics makes me that, and that's when I realized that this person had no motive or point to what they were saying. They just, even the fact that it made no sense, let it drill it in, that they said that just to hurt me. And that's it. They said that because they know this is something that I love and I take serious and I pour my heart into. And so out of anger, and I'm sure pain also, they made these remarks to me. They wanted to push me to the breaking point. And if it wasn't for my wife, my mother, my stepmother, I would have called this off probably, because you see, the person that said this to me is the one that molded me my entire life to even be interested in politics and the way the world communicates in general. And I've been chasing this person's respect for what seems like my entire life. And I think I'm just now coming to the conclusion that I'll never get it. So at the ripe age of 34, I'm finally just going to let that endeavor go. It's time to get back to focusing on my family, my life, my fitness, my passion of reporting, and how I feel about the world events to you, ladies and gentlemen. This is what I felt like for the longest I've always been meant to do. And if you're following my journey, since I started this back in September, then you know that the murder of Charlie Kirk is what made me do this. Enough talking. Just go do it. So that following Friday, which I believe was 2 days after his assassination, my wife and I went to Best Buy and this journey started. So that night, when I was told these things, it sparked a question in my head. What do I stand for? I know I say that I'm independent and that I don't back a party, and I also say that I'm a conservative. So what does that mean exactly? And I know there are plenty of people that call themselves conservatives, and yet I found out that we are far from on the same side. I heard Matt Walsh, who I'm not a fan of as far as his lifestyle, but I do agree politically with him quite a lot, say this the best I think I've ever heard it. Those of us that are true conservatives are conserving Western civilization. We're conserving American identity. We're conserving the sanctity of human life. We're conserving the nuclear family. We're conserving marriage. That's what we're conserving, And if you agree with me on that, on those basic core principles right there, then we're on the same side. And we might have a lot of disagreements on how we actually get to our destination. But as long as we are all headed in that general direction, I say we should be able to sit down and figure this shit out, You see, the opposition to the conservative movement, which would be your modern day Marxist socialist, or better known as the Democrat Party. And I've already given you the analogy before, if you're a listener of my show, that this party is dead and that the new woke communist movement is what's animating the dead corpse of the Democrat Party. Therefore, it's kind of like a zombie party that celebrates destruction, deception, and death. They bring mass foreign invasion, skyrocketing inflation, supply chain debacles with permanent excuse mills, crime levels through the roof. And if you haven't heard recently, for an example, the former police chief of the D.C. area is now under investigation for intentionally smudging crime numbers to fabricate the narrative that crime was down, when actually it was doubling, almost in every case. Many whistleblowers have now came through with evidence, and they are also told by her to downplay crimes like that wasn't a robbery you just seen. That was domestic violence, right? So the extreme crimes went almost undetected. So like I said, crime levels through the roof, and police that hide it on top of that. Just like the Biden administration had to remove over 800,000 jobs where they smudged that and got caught. So you see, you get governors and you get mayors that are low IQ and think that we're the stupid ones, but they know the population, for the most part, won't speak up because they've been browbeaten by DEI and are scared of being called names like racist. I mean, you can hear that and think, dude's just saying that because he's on the opposite team. When in reality is, I'm on Team America. And if you're an American citizen, then I'm all for you. Even if we don't agree, I am America first. So we should be on the same team, all of us. Unfortunately, modern-day party of the left-wing politics opposes Western civilization, and most of all, they oppose American identity. You see, the fact that the white man built America, and therefore are the real Native Americans, for some reason kills these people, to the point where they're trying to not only eliminate the white race by making us hate ourselves for being born of this complexion, make us feel guilty for some shit that happened hundreds of years ago that we would never even allow today in the society that we live in. You see, most cases, the truth isn't really being told, and public school damn sure ain't teaching truth. So therefore, our kids are basically being babysat for 8 hours a day in a school that past like reading, writing, and basic math, in most cases, not even that, they don't learn a damn thing. It was intentionally built this way to keep us stupid and only allow the elite children from wealthy families to get the real education so they can reign over us. Of course, knowledge is power, ladies and gentlemen. Christianity is also being stomped out and ridiculed more than any other religion across the globe. And with that, so is the Western culture. Islam's taken over every single country that allows Muslims in masse. And they do not assimilate. They conquer. Look at all of history and look at what their religion tells them to do. I mean, they follow the teachings of an illiterate pedophile, for God's sake. No one speaks of whites and brings up the fact that in the very near future, we will be an endangered race. The liberal, white, college-educated feminist movement has pushed the patriarchy out, and those women are aborting babies by the thousands. This is all by design. Just like in Canada, one of the leading causes of death is the government-assisted suicide program, or the MAIDS program, whatever you want to call it. And guess what? 97% of the participants in this program are white. See, they allow you to sign up for a painless instant death for things like poverty and depression. It's crazy. It no longer has to be terminal. The left also opposes the institutions that this country has always held sacred in its true culture and civilization. I mean, we depend on it. Like, the institution of marriage and family. What do you think all the homosexual and transgender bullshit was fueled by? Last time I checked, transgenderism leads to sterility. And homosexuality leads to a bunch of sterile sex. And all of this is rejected, along with the value of a human soul via abortion and the acceptance of Jesus Christ. I simply I cannot sit back silently and watch my children be stripped of their birthright at a chance at the American dream. And to the thousands of you that sat at least through the last 4 years, as our country was ripped to shreds by insane policies and a dissolution of the sovereign borders that surround our nation, shame on you. What the hell were you thinking? So, I mean, now it's up to people like me, and I'm no one, and people like you that listen and agree and care to wrestle our country back from those that have been trying to destroy it for decades, and we will, God willing, I mentioned earlier how the white race are the true Native Americans, and I would like to expand on that real quick before I continue. You see, before we got here all those years ago, America was a piece of land and not a country. It was indeed inhabited already, but not by any type of organized or civil people, and I am inherently somewhat of a Cherokee myself, from my mother's side, of course, and Scotch-Irish from my father. So I feel like I can say this by all accounts, I guess. But what existed before our structure that we put down, the Europeans, was savagery, murder, rape, pillage, warring tribes. What I'm trying to say is America wasn't America yet. And once it was established by the white European colonies that founded it. Thus, the original Native Americans are white. And to be even more to my point, there's been some recent human genome testing that has provided us with proof that the Indians that lived in America, all of them, actually originated from Asia. So go figure. It's simply the law of conquest, people, man. And unfortunately, we're witnessing it happen right in front of us. Except this time, it's being allowed for the most part and performed by those that hate us. I don't believe in seeing people based on the color of their skin. I really don't. There's nothing racist about me unless you consider, me being proud to be who I am as racist. But I judge people based on their actions, not even their words for the most part, because, of course, talk is cheap, right? But I've met people of many races and really religions, and I've made awesome friends in the process, Also met quite a few scumbags from each variety of race and religion. But one thing I will do, though, is defend my family. My children are white, my parents are white, and my wife is white. We're not racist, nor are we scumbags. We are stand-up, word-bonded people that we come from a culture that values biblical principles, and rightfully so. Our religion doesn't allow us to hate, you see. And in fact, we are told that the only thing that we are not to make peace with is evil itself. In fact, we are taught to destroy that. And as I've talked about in depth many times, the current scams in Minnesota are rampant, and thanks to a few journalists, we are now learning that the scam is the same worldwide. See, the Somalians have been doing this many countries over. In the United States and Sweden, it was scamming off taxpayers with NGOs and fake recipients and all that good stuff, But in the third world of Africa, where they are from, there are no safety net programs that they can scam, so they scam the same way humanitarian aid there, to the point where if they can't sign up fake recipients and get free things, then they just steal the aid, like hijack style, and sell the materials. So billions of our dollars now have been traced from right here at home, going back to Al-Shabaab, which is the radical Islamist terrorist group that hates America and Americans, and the liberal plans of mass immigration, anti-racism, welfare state. It simply leads inexorably to fraud by the billions. In this blue city of virtue signaling do-goodery, fraud is ripe for the taking. It wasn't something that could have been ignored, and of course, unless it was intentional. And that means that either the politicians that run Minneapolis are getting a financial cut, or simply they just need the votes to stay in power. And let me tell you that out of the entire Somali population in Minnesota of 80,000, 100% vote Democrat. I'm sure that's a coincidence. Not to mention their district representative, in Congress, who has many times on stage pledged her allegiance to her home country of Somalia. She was in Kenya somehow and got here. And she also pushed the policies that allowed the scam in the first place, and who has now been caught up with her, changing her birth year on her congressional record, because that would put her at age 17 when her father was naturalized. And, minors get a free ride off of their parents. But originally it said she was 18 at that time, which means, let's not forget the overwhelming proof of, the marriage to her own brother, which not only could trip her up with like some IRS federal tax fraud charge, but also, with maybe the state of, the state law of incest. Not to mention it would remove her as a natural citizen and she would lose her seed. And it's honestly amazing to think of, this once great country and how we've now been infiltrated to the point that we have a sitting Somali Islamist that it isn't even an American citizen, almost, possibly, sitting in Congress and writing laws that affect every single American citizen. Let's not get caught up on Ilhan anymore, though. The super left policies, along with the soft on crime agenda, has also destroyed the once great city of Minneapolis. And the former Minneapolis Chamber of Commerce CEO, as a matter of fact, speaking of Minneapolis, was just caught up embezzling hundreds of thousands of dollars. Most recently, I think it was $200,000. He used to splurge and go on vacation in Hawaii. And what a world. Honestly, everything the left touches goes to shit. You can give me an example from healthcare to education to the economy, that they've done anything to benefit the American people, I would be shocked. Please let me see those in the comments, but you can't. And President Trump even gave a speech last night, and I think he laid out a lot on the table, for real. I mean, the fact that the military will all now receive a Christmas bonus of $1,776 out of tariff revenue, and the breakdown of how he plans on making housing available for Generation Z sounds wonderful. Closing immigration from 20 countries, 20 third world countries. I think it's 35 in total now to let America heal. And starting in January, the Trump RX will be in effect. And we'll see over an 80% drop in a lot of, major pharmaceutical prices. And I hope he sticks the landing for my children's sake and my great-grandchildren's sake, who aren't even born yet and already on the fast track to being bankrupt. And I will admit that our current president is he's a psychopath. And I honestly think that most of us knew that going into the 2024 election. And I mean that with the most non-offensive stance. It simply is what it is. And traits that make up a psychopath are like superficial charm, manipulativeness, regard for rules, others' feelings. And I mean, how many mean tweets is full of vile words and charisma? Do we need to see? But the one thing I do agree with the professionally diagnosed psychopath and horror novelist Jack Noble on is the fact that we needed a psychopath to level out the insane left. And he is very effective, and he's a good leader at that. And he has the charisma to not only charm his followers, but to also woo world leaders into doing what he wants, which is a perk of being the most high-ranking official of the most powerful country in existence also. But this needs to be seen for what it is. Where I agree with President of the United States on about 80% of the things he does, there is the fact that we have once again been sold out to Israel and what's best for their government over what's best for the American population. The ones that are really supposed to be running the show. And I don't cherry pick shit that I say. I will speak the truth, or at least to the best of my ability, and I will scream it from the rooftops or from my bedroom in a microphone. But recently, I mean, we've even seen Senator Fetterman, along with multiple other senators on the intelligence committees, that have seen the video of the latest debacle that tried to drum up on the United States Pentagon. And overall, the Trump administration, I guess. But I mentioned, that Fetterman, because although he is a Democrat and he has had a stroke, he seems to be the only logical one as of lately. He straight up told Chris Cuomo over and over that the Pentagon has mountains of information and triple-check sources on these drug boats and their runners, and that on that video, specifically, they were indeed going to try and complete the mission of getting those poisonous drugs into the United States. And he also mentioned that he seen the 40-page, of military and congressional policy that made everything that was done completely legal and by the books. And this administration isn't simply going around and bombing random fishing boats. And he was honestly embarrassed that his side even came up with that or tried to push that. It's weak. Let's not forget that the New York Times rag checked the Washington Post on it. And what about Obama on the record actually slaughtering hundreds, maybe thousands of people during the drone strikes and then bragged about being good at it? Actually, it was 3,800 people total. But that's including Americans also. And between 384 and 807 civilians, women, children, elderly. So let's give up the game, the virtue signaling, please. The time of being silent, though, and docile is over. It's become a known thing that the white man is now afraid to speak up and stand up for themselves, at least in the majority of cases, not this one. And we have lost our once powerful ambition to have a spine, stand on principles. Am I a Christian nationalist? I mean, I suppose if that means I believe in the teachings of Jesus Christ, and I secondly love my country and apply those teachings to how I live my life and raise my children. I want to raise my children, and I want them to be proud to be who they are, not ashamed. And we've let this go on for far too long. And I'm not speaking of just white people when I say this. I'm speaking about red-blooded Americans that love this country and are sick and tired of watching it be abused. It's time to speak up. Speak now or forever lose your right to. Like I've recently quoted, history doesn't celebrate those that stay silent. And when questioning power becomes taboo, we all know what's next. Thank you for listening to me rant. God bless you all. and God bless America.